Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I have 10 minutes, and I will spend my 10 minutes praising the two speakers, 2 minutes of them, and 8 minutes for something new, which I think is very urgent, right today, this week, in Indonesia and in the ASEAN group of 10 countries. Are you translating? Yes. I'm happy. My praise is this. I think that faith and Zainal has given very informative and good presentations. Faith about the entire structure of the Human Rights Resource Center study, and you of the Indonesian findings in the country report. For me to comment on the details of that is impossible, and I don't want to do that. But I want to say this. I have had the great privilege and honor and pleasure to work with the whole group of young researchers. But also very young. I'm the oldest one. In this exercise last year. They are very good and very impressive. So you are blessed with having in your region a wonderful group of young, clever scholars who have done a good job. Myself, I am a philosopher of human rights. I am not a lawyer, I am not a jurist. But I'm extremely interested in what human rights are as law and as more than law. As a matter of fact, in my view, without the legal codification of international human rights, we would be lost fighting for human rights. Without the legal detail and sometimes boring details, without that, we would not have a human rights movement on planet Earth. But human rights is much more than just law. What is it? It is something which was invented, I say invented, when I was a young boy. I was 4 years old or 8 years old in 1948 and 1945. And then it was simmering on the stove. Not very much happened in the beginning for several decades. Then miraculously it came to happen that in Latin America, in the Soviet Union, you had dissidents, you had protests, which called this thing, international human rights, as something to take very seriously and fight for. And miraculously, it has become a world movement. Since it is also a patent, wonderful thing, human rights are very good, quote unquote. Therefore, of course, human rights are abused and misused. Anything which is very good and recognized to be very good will be abused and misused. Christianity, my religion, is misused. Islam, Muslim, is misused. And democracy is misused. I mean, that aside, I'm going to say something which I think of particular pertinence today. And this has to do with your Indonesia's foreign minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Her name is Retno Marsudi. She's a friend of ours because she was your country's ambassador to Norway. And she's a very hardworking and very intelligent person. So she came to the Norwegian Center for Human Rights and listened to our lectures. And I said, Your Excellency, how do you have the time for that? And she said, you know, Tore, that's my name, to be Indonesia's ambassador to Little Norway is not such a huge job. So I can learn something in the process. Now that's the spirit. Now she faces, and so do all you Indonesians, and so do all people in ASEAN, a huge human rights challenge. And that is the challenge, what to do about the Rohingyas in Rakhine State. And that's what I want to focus on for my remaining 7 minutes, if I have them. It so happens that Indonesia is among the 10 ASEAN countries, the one I have done much work with in the last 10 years. But it also is my fate as a person to be called to work in the Norwegian Burma Council since 1992, when Aung San Suu Kyi got the Peace Prize. So I have been corresponding with her, supporting her, and finally another miracle happened. There was democratization happening in Myanmar, and she could come to Norway and say thank you for the Nobel Peace Prize. Now I must say I am disappointed, like everybody, that she doesn't speak out as courageously and clearly as she has done in all other circumstances on behalf of her countrymen, the Rohingyas, who are persecuted, suppressed, thrown out to the ocean, thrown into Bangladesh, because their life circumstances are far below the minimal level of human rights, which is the responsibility of the Myanmar government. But I will not criticize Aung San Suu Kyi more than I have now, because there is democratic politics, and there is election in fall, early fall, and she is going for office. Not enough said. But Retno Masudi, your Minister of Foreign Affairs, is very clever. Now, of course, you are Asians, aren't you? So you believe in this thing called Asian values. Well, I am very happy to announce for you, and you can take it for yourself, among Asian values are now human rights. Just look at the second page of the handout you have received. It says, in 2012, the heads of state of ASEAN, the member states, signed the ASEAN Human Rights Declaration. And then it says, every person has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Good. All forms of intolerance, discrimination, and incitement of hatred based on religion and beliefs shall be eliminated. End of quote. Now, the Myanmar government has not stood up to these obligations at all in the case of the Rohingyas. It is very often said that, oh, we shouldn't say Rohingya because they should be called Bengalis. If I may say a blunt word, bullshit. It is a human right for a group of people to use their own name on themselves. There is no question about that. Well, but they are not citizens, it is said. Well, that's true. But that is because they were deprived of their citizen, many of them, by a law which was not a real law. It was sort of a dictatorial decree made by Nevin, the dictator, in 1982. And the law has no good founding in facts. But just a little political speculation before I end. I think that it may be, but actually I want to say one other thing first, which is that the democratization in Burma, so we now say Myanmar to be polite, from 2012 until now is a miracle. And I'm sure you know that when they look for models, they look to Indonesia. However, I think that the the old military leadership has retained a lot of power, and one of their safety valves to keep power is they can play the ethno-religious card. I don't have knowledge about this, but it seems very reasonable that when they do not stop abuse of the Rohingyas' right to have a minimally decent life, they could do it. They know that that would be politically dangerous for them. Or not dangerous, but not profitable. So they can have a card in the backhand. I think we have to respect that democratic politics is sometimes also a dirty game. That's just fact. But you who are Asians, and you who are Indonesian, the most important ASEAN country by all, you should be able to help, I say help, by my pressure, nudging your government and Retno Marsudi to say something, not like me, I'm speaking too loudly, but like in the Asian way, that you know, so that you stand up for your co-citizens. Not co-citizens, but the co-religionists, those who are Muslims, in Myanmar. And my final line is this: human rights is a relation between states, yes. And I also think that there is no legitimacy for using coercive intervention across borders. No. But there are many other things that the government can do and must do if their population demands it. You are the population. In order to save the minimal dignity life chances for people in other countries. And I think this is a chance in ASEAN relationship between Indonesia and you Indonesians and Myanmar brothers and sisters, that you show in practice that there is a relation of solidarity between people across borders, and it doesn't have to be because they are Muslims, you are Muslims. It should simply be because they are human beings. They should not be stepped upon, not kicked out, not mishandled. I cannot give all the evidence now, although I would be able to, I think, because that would take too much time. But I think that there can be no doubt that severe and continual human rights violations are happening against the Rohingyas, and it should stop. And co-Asians should contribute in their way to help it stop. Thank you.